What's going on, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, today we're going to talk about minor capitulation because we've entered another phase of minor capitulation, and the last time we saw that was back here in December. So we're going to talk about this historically, how it affects price, and how we would expect Bitcoin price to behave once this is done, and kind of explain the mechanics behind minor capitulation and how this indicator works. All right, guys, let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
And really quickly, guys, if you want to get into the room with us, $2.99 for 12 months, head over to tradegenius.co and you can click on the special there. All right, so minor capitulation. What this means is it's taking the hash rate, it takes a couple of averages, and then if those averages start to cross over, kind of like moving average crossovers, if that starts to happen, they call that capitulation, meaning that the miners are slowing down in the hash rate. And you can see that here. This is area, this middle graph is the hash rate. And you can see it's been declining since about the beginning of March, a little after we started to see a decline from this current up move. Now, as we've seen in the previous videos in this series, price has been sympathetic with the markets. A little more recently, Bitcoin has been able to kind of pull away from the downward price action, and we've actually seen the markets catch back up to the Bitcoin move going up. So we're getting to a point where in the larger context of we're in a bear market in the equities, US equities, and we have these bear market rallies are usually like this, where you get a big bounce, but then they will roll back over and then make new lows, but it takes several weeks to play out. So the concern here would be that Bitcoin gets dragged back down when the selling resumes in force on the US stock indices. That being said, the miners, obviously, being that we're so close to halving now, we're about a month and a half out, and we've seen that the price has just continued to go down. We should be rallying into the halving. Looks like we're trying to start here, but because I think the price had sold off, it forced them to turn some machines off. So remember, we talked about if price is going up, we'd see hash rate continue to go higher. They're putting new machines, more efficient machines online, getting rid of the old stuff, because you want to do that when the halving, or before the halving, when your reward for having or mining Bitcoin is still at 12.5. After the halving, that drops to 6.25 Bitcoin per mined block. And so that's why now is the time to spend the money, get the new equipment up and running. So if they're mining away, increasing hash power with new equipment, could be stashing away Bitcoin too, so that after the halving, they can offset that 50% haircut in income with some stored Bitcoin. So all of that holdback generally is bullish. But if price is not going the direction they want to, they do actually have to get rid of some of their equipment costs, mining costs, electrical costs, and start turning stuff off. And so that's what we've seen, because the hash rate has reduced. The difficulty has dropped. It's not yet reflected on this difficulty graph at the bottom, but you will see a reduction in that as well by tomorrow when this end of day chart updates. So this indicator here is the hash ribbons indicator. You can get that on TradingView. And like I said, it's like a moving average. It crosses over. When it crosses over, that tells you that we are entering a capitulation phase, meaning miners are turning off their machines. And this does a pretty good job of showing us when the price of Bitcoin does pull back. It does a good job of showing where price tends to bottom, and then when the capitulation is done, meaning that these bands start to turn back up, you'll get a green dot, and that signifies time to look for longs. Now, if we go to a weekly chart, and you can see we have confirmed on the weekly capitulation, so that has started. Now, if we look back, the last one we saw was back at the end of 2019. Price was coming off that big run up to 13, 14,000, pulled back. We had minor capitulation because same theory. Price of Bitcoin got to the point where the miners couldn't be profitable, and they were forced to turn machines off to reduce overhead. So we had a capitulation here. We get a sign that the miners are turning back on. Capitulation is done. And what do we do from here? We run up. So we ran up from 7,300 or so up to 10,000 plus. Same thing here. Now this is at the end of 2018. Capitulation. Miners start turning off because they can't make any money through here. And you can see it reflected in also the hash rate of Bitcoin dropping here. And you can see the difficulty drops. But that's the beauty of the system, right? The code self-heals. So if price of Bitcoin isn't profitable, the system will actually reduce how difficult it is to mine blocks, and then it becomes a balancing act, and then all of a sudden it is profitable again to mine. So the system will maintain profitability, but first miners have to capitulate. That happens here. Price consolidates, basis, we get the green dot, meaning that the miners are turning back on, and then price has resumed the upward trend. We can go back even further after the halving, which isn't unexpected because typically we do see a cool off in price after the halving because of the run up, and you'll see a little bit of capitulation there. But again, green dot, and then we're back up. And then prior to 2015, 2016, that's price was so cheap and very early into the economic cycle of this thing. So you did have a few spots of capitulation, but you'll notice after the halving, almost always there is a capitulation period there. So we're going to expect to see that again. But what I look for more is what happened from 2015 on and how price reacted. You'll notice we had capitulation here, green dot, price rebounded, couldn't sustain that. Sellers came back in, and we capitulated one more time, green dot, and then we moved back up, and then no more capitulation after that. So basically, the capitulation is just telling you that look for price to pull back and consolidate. And when we do get an up move during capitulation periods, you'll notice that like in this last period here, we had a green candle and then another green candle. These are weekly now, and then we had a pullback, right? So I do expect to see a pullback on the weekly time frame here. But again, we have to take this into context. We are having, and it's kind of unusual to get another set of capitulation this close to halving. Notice here before a similar spot before halving, there's just no capitulation to be found. Here the last capitulation we had before halving was in June, and this halving was in November. So again, 2 months out prior to halving, there's just no capitulation going on. We're grinding higher. So this is a bit different. Granted, we've never seen a big sell-off in the market, recession, global pandemic all hitting at once while Bitcoin has been around and trading. So this is all new environment that we haven't seen before with regards to the price of Bitcoin nearing the halving window. So I would expect this. Capitulation would say that as long as these bands are going down and we don't get a quick green dot, we get another pullback, especially if the markets tank, because Bitcoin hasn't shown us yet that it can ignore the big sell-offs in the market. A lot of people think the bottom is in. I highly doubt that after a move that severe and the current situation where essentially our economy is shut down, highly doubt the bottom is in. I think we're going to see some more pain in the stock markets, but that's where the risk will be for Bitcoin getting dragged down, and same goes for gold as well. So keep an eye on that, but this is good to keep tabs on. Again, hash ribbons, you can get that on TradingView, and you can also keep tabs on this. So we'll update this as things change, and if we do get a green dot, we'll talk about it and talk about the strategies going forward. So there you have it, guys. Unusual, but we do have the capitulation going on, so we have to respect that and expect that price will roll over. So we'll talk about that as that changes. Thanks for watching, guys. Please hit like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.